So we've been playing a little bit of Dauntless. Dauntless is a new free-to-play game that came out. We've done some interviews with this team. Again, youtube.com/innovate the Inner Gamer, and this game is created by Phoenix Labs. It's an indie title. It's been in development for a while, built on Unreal Engine, and basically it's a free-to-play Monster Hunter. It's kind of the way that I would pitch it, except less. There's no open world aspect to it, and it's just drop into a world with your buddies, go find the monster, kill the monster, get loot, rinse and repeat. Does that sound accurate, Austin?
That sounds about accurate.
Yeah.
Right, that's like the best accurate description I've ever heard anyone give anything, ever.
I know, right? Oh my gosh, yeah. That should be in the Hall of Fame of accurate descriptions. It's like all over the place. But so Dauntless is here, and it came out a couple weeks ago, and we played it for a stream not too long ago. Played a lot of it, and I haven't gone back to play it since, unfortunately, because I've been so busy. But we had a good time, I feel like, overall. How did you feel about it? Like, just your initial top-level impressions. Like, what did you think about Dauntless at the official release?
It was good. Like, it was fun. It felt smooth, polished. Gameplay was fun. Can't say I didn't not like it. And yeah, I mean, it looked like a triple I game. So, I mean, I was pretty pumped to jump into it as soon as I loaded it up, because back in the beta, everything was really laggy, especially in the hub world. So, having that transition was like, all right, like I'm pumped, excited. Let's go kill some monsters.
Yeah, the hub world was like unplayable in the beta. It was so bad. But yeah, no, it's pretty interesting. So you basically load into the game, you create your character. The character creation is kind of weird. It doesn't, like, your male and female characters basically have the same facial structure. It's just slightly different body types, I guess. And you can put a beard on your female character if you want to. So, go for it. And then once you're in the game, you are dropped in the hub world, and you can go to a guy. Like, they just have guys around that, guys and gals that can do things for you. So you have one that's like your armor person that lets you get your armor, another one that's your weapons person, another one that's your quest giver, another one that's your like throwables and weapons person, which there's actually guns and like throwable grenades and stuff in this game, which is kind of interesting.
Mm-hmm.
And all these people exist, and you basically go into the quest giver person and say, hey, I'm going to go click on this type of world, which there's like, ice-like worlds, and there's regular worlds and all this stuff based on the types of monsters you're attacking. And then you drop in that world, and the goal when you drop in is to go on a brief hunt to find the monster. However, when you're in this like open area space, you can also forage for items to help you craft things later on. So you want to do that because that's what's required to help you upgrade stuff and unlock some new gear later on, so you can craft gold and ori things and plants and herbs and whatnot. Then you just go fight the monster. You attack, you kill it, and then you get a bunch of loot, and then you go back, and then you can like make the armor of the guy that you just killed, or make the weapon of the guy you just killed, and then do that a bunch of times, and then do some bounties, and then go back out there again. And it's just got this like kind of very satisfying loop of like hunt, forage, collect, kill, collect more, upgrade, repeat. Yeah. Dauntless.
Dauntless.
That's
cool. It.
Dauntless.
Yeah, I enjoy the loop too, but it definitely gets repetitive once you've seen most of the monsters. It's like, okay, cool. Like, it's interesting fighting them, and then especially the Shriek, the Shriek was pretty tough to battle, and I thought that was the most fun at the time, because the rest of them were pretty easy. I mean, you just whack away, and then eventually they die, but the Shriek had like some interesting attacks.
It's a little bit harder than that, but yeah, I got you. I just know what you're saying.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's just hack and slash, and eventually they die, right? But they got some moves. You have to watch your health and, plan your attacks. But for the most part, like, they didn't really do so much damage where it became an issue. But the Sheik was like, oh, shit, I really got to be careful. I really got to dodge, It was like that more methodical, like, you can't just go in and kill everything, like, instantly. type thing. And,
right.
I think the monster types are great, but I think it does lack. Like originally, I thought you had to track the monsters. Maybe that's been changed since we talked to the Dauntless devs back at PAX.
I don't think it ever was in there, but I do kind of wish it was there.
Maybe it's something that they were looking into, but I guess they never implemented it. And it just, the world just feels so bland and like pointless. Sometimes
it's kind of like they took the same world and maybe like did 3 variations of it and then just changed like the textures for like snow versus grass lands, and that's about it. So like world design definitely leaves a lot to be desired in most cases. It does vary up a little bit later on depending on the type of monster you're fighting, but not significantly different. And there's no exploration like mode where you can just like drop into a world like you could in Monster Hunter World and explore around. But I mean, I think the part of the problem is like we've played Monster Hunter World and that was so good and we want it to be Monster Hunter World but free, and it's not, and we're upset about that. And it's, obviously it can't be that, and I don't think they intended it to be like a free Monster Hunter clone, but there are some things that I feel like they could pull in, like the tracking, for example. I think would be really cool to have, just to make it a little bit easier to find the monster. But that was also a new thing to, kind of a new thing to Monster Hunter with Monster Hunter World. Like it wasn't as much of that. Like you had to find tracks, and in this one, there is finding clues. Like I did read that there is clues in there that you may not notice. Like there's like maybe like missing trees, or there's like areas where like birds fly up in the air that indicate that there is something nearby. So there are like visual cues in there, but there's not obviously like the little like fairy little like shiny things that guide you like there was before, and there's not any interacting with the tracked items to help guide you to the next tracked item like they had in Monster Hunter World, which I think is just because we're used to this thing and we're expecting that thing. But there is like a pseudo tracking. It's just not as well realized as it was in Monster Hunter World,
right?
From my understanding,
right?
So
yeah, it definitely leaves things to be desired, and it's kind of sucks in that sense. I mean, they've come a long way, and they've done a lot, and they've added a lot of content in here, but it's still just not enough for me, because it gets to the point where it's just grindy, and I'm just like, okay, I don't want to be grinding the same like this stuff over and over again. There's only so much they can do. I understand that, and hopefully over time it'll evolve. I mean, people are buying, because they have the season pass and stuff like that. So they're following in that route, which can help out with development. I understand they still need the cash to develop this game further, but as it stands now, it's not my most favorite game. It is fun. Like if you put, we put in 4 hours total over the last 2 weeks. No, 6 hours. I know I had my fill of it. I'm basically done with it now. Like I get the game concept, and definitely Monster Hunter World. There's like more aspects to just hunting a monster. Although the concept's just the same thing, it adds a lot more to exploration and kind of figuring out these monsters, and it gets easier and easier as you fight the same monster, and I think that just kind of helps that play loop progress over time. So
yeah, that's one thing I did notice about this, is that in Monster Hunter World, the more you played a monster, the better you got at killing the monster. But there was a noticeable, like, the first time you face that monster, it's hard as shit. And then every time thereafter, it gets progressively easier because you unlock better armor to take down the monster. But in this one, they start off pretty easy in most cases if you have a 4-man squad. And then it doesn't really get progressively easier because it doesn't have to be until later in the game. So I'm hoping that like the monster challenges ramp up a little bit, and they get more, like you have to pay more attention to their unique qualities to be able to combat them and take them down. And they're getting there. Like there's that owl. Is that the Scarg or whatever you were talking about? Is that the name of that one? The owl?
No, it's like the Sheik or the Shriek.
But that's the owl. Is just Sheik or Shriek. Yeah. So yeah, the owl, like that was super difficult because it flew for one, so you couldn't always hit it.
Right.
And then it had the tornado that would lay down and all that stuff. So there was a lot you had to pay attention to time it just right, to take that one down. So I'm hoping it gets more like that. But I do like the, like I was we were playing with Josh, and he was giving me some insight into kind of, because like usually when I play Monster Hunter, and I've done that, I did this before where I would basically try and buy an armor set and like carry that armor. But he was making a good point about like buying different types of armor sets from different monsters to help offset the negative qualities of certain things. So say you have, an armor set that's plus 20% on shock, but negative 20% on fire. Well, then you get another armor piece that is plus 20% on fire, and that negates the negative of the other armor piece. So you like combine and stuff. And I didn't feel like you had to do that as much in Monster Hunter World. But in this one, it seems like, I could just be not remembering it, but like it seems like that's something that you can do a lot of, and just like mix and match a lot of different armor sets to kind of craft the best diverse piece of armor for the different combat scenarios. So there's some depth to it in that, but you definitely have to appreciate and love the grind, that loot grind of finding more stuff to just get that one extra thing to then build out your next piece of armor that you're trying to get. And if you don't enjoy that loop, then that's not for you. It's like Destiny, if you don't enjoy that loot grind, then that's basically what it's built around. It's like the enjoyment of that grind.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah.
So, but I definitely think it's worth checking out just to see if it kind of strikes your fancy in some way. Because again, it's free. It's crossplay. It's the first ever crossplay game with PS4. So it's just really exciting. So you're in there and you see little icons over people's names of whether or not they're on PS4 or Xbox or on PC. So you can see where these characters are playing at, which is really, really neat. So that's a nice aspect to it. And it's free. It's got microtransactions and stuff like that to buy cosmetic items and whatnot. It's going to have that, like Austin said, there's a battle pass. So there's a lot of that stuff in there, but it doesn't seem like it's too over the top trying to hit you in the head with getting that stuff. There were some bugs that I noticed when playing. Like, for example, I would come back to the world after killing a monster that I was supposed to kill, and then it was like the quests weren't available. Like, I couldn't complete the quest, and I'd have to log out and log back in. So there was a lot of like server bugs I was running into, but I think that was just because it was like the first couple weeks of the game being out and everybody was playing. They hadn't like optimized the servers yet. But that is something to expect, that you might have to log in and log out a few times. And you may kill a monster that's going to complete a quest, but it doesn't register because the game's jinxed and jacked up at that instance. And you have to load back in again and fight that monster again to get your reward for it, which sucks. But it is what it is.